I'm Anne Potier. I retired as Conservation Officer in 2007, but I started working with the Conservancy as a volunteer in 1979. In the early days, how I started in the Conservancy was that I went on a practical working party organised by the Sussex Ornithological Society on the Shingle Islands in Chichester Harbour where the seabirds nest. And it was good fun, and we went out by boat and we shoveled the shingle to build it up so that the birds could nest. And the person who was organising it was Joan Edam, who was the voluntary warden for the Nutbourne Marshes Local Nature Reserve, which is where the islands are. And I went on that one and I went on another one and I thought, this is good. And I foolishly said to her, is there anything else I can do? And the floodgates opened. So I got involved in looking after the nesting terns. We used to sort of sit out on the beach at low tide and make sure that people didn't go across there. We picked up litter. There wasn't too much in the way of practical work to do. She led guided walks every Sunday in the winter looking at wading birds, and I went along and helped with those. They became known as the Sunday walks, and they're part of Harbour folklore, and they were great. And well, we were doing monitoring of the salt marsh in a very steam-driven way with an ordinary camera which took 35mm slides. No aids to this. It was just we got on and did it. Anyway, all this was lovely training, and the Conservancy in those days was much smaller. There was one environmental person, the amenity officer, Philip Couchman, and basically he was the environmental team. A lot was done with volunteers. There was much less money, but we got on and we coped with it. But all this time, Joan, as a volunteer, was running the nature reserve. There was very little other environmental practical work. The harbour didn't own any land apart from there. There were fewer sites to manage. Any work tended to be done by volunteers, things like tree planting in cooperation with farmers and so on. But the reserve was actually run and owned by the Conservancy, hence Joan's job. And she organised all the data collection. We did bird counts in the winter of the wading birds and the ducks and so on, and she was part of the team that organised that. So I learnt so much, and it was really her guidance and the sort of practicalities of conservation management that trained me and gave me the background that I now have. Because conservation management wasn't really a vocation or a call, it was just you did what was common sense. There were people to advise you, but there wasn't the industry that there is now, and it was all pretty much, well, not exactly hand to mouth, but much more informal and guided by some very wise and knowledgeable people, but without the framework of legislation and so on that there is now.